Hi, it's Linda, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Yee Ley. Yee Ley has over 10 years' experience working as an analyst in the broadcasting industry. She now applies her analytical skills and intuitive abilities as a personal transformation facilitator. Her approach combines practical analysis with transpersonal techniques to enhance self-awareness. Yee Ley is a family and systemic facilitator. She's a sound and voice facilitator and a yoga nidra practitioner. She has over 15 years experience with energy medicine and transpersonal practices in the UK, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand. Yee Ley helps people to reconnect with their core being so they may choose a lighter way of living. So hi, Yee Ley. Welcome to the interview.
Wow. Yeah, thanks, Linda.
So Yee Ley, can you tell us how you found sound healing and what led you to pursuing it as a healing modality or one of your modalities?
I first came across sound in a way of vocal toning, and this was back in London. I can't remember the date, but it's around about 2010 when I was embarking on my spiritual journey. And I was lucky that my Reiki master teacher there, he hosted a lot of different workshops and sound in a way of vocal toning of the energy centers was one of them. And I just found it really fascinating because it was something I didn't really know sound could be used in that way, or even a voice. And I didn't realize how, I guess, blocked or shy I was with my voice. So that's how it started. And then in terms of me pursuing it, I just like a workshop junkie. And basically, it was my own healing that I decided to embark on that voice exploration and experienced a beautiful sound bath with this lady called Amanda J. Kent in London. And she is or was an opera singer working with the angelic realm. And she used to do divine light sound baths. And back then, sound baths were just starting up to be a thing. And she just walked around with bamboo chimes with her operatic voice, sang to us, and then she spoke this thing called light language, and I just started crying. And I was like, what's happening? So there was a kind of recognition of the language and the voice that she was using that invoked this sense of home or longing for home. And I went along to her workshops, and she was running these singing for sounding workshops, and I didn't know what they were, but she basically encouraged us to use our voice for expression, for healing ourselves. And I just found myself signing up for it, saying, I really need to look at this area because I found myself as the quiet, shy person wanting to move beyond that story. And so that's how sound healing started to come in that way. It was actually the voice first.
Right. And the first time you hear light language, it's kind of amazing, right? Especially if you don't expect it. Did you expect her to be using that language, or was that completely new?
Yes and no. It's funny because I can't remember which order it was, but I have heard light language talked about rather than heard it. And then I was like, what is this thing? And I actually then heard someone who's actually, I think she's a New Zealander, but it was back in the UK. I didn't know who she was. And I heard her language online on this YouTube video. And I started laughing because I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
But then realized it was actually the energy she was bringing through. So that was invoking this laughter, which I thought I was mocking because I thought, what is this language? And so with Amanda's one, when I heard it, it was really soothing and almost sounded familiar. And then since then, I had heard other ones in I think it was like the Spiritualist Church in London, and I was just like, this one isn't resonating, or it didn't. My body was like, didn't feel comfortable. So yeah,
That's
different
interesting.
languages invokes different feelings. So I guess it's the same with anything really. So different modalities and different people can gel or resonate, and some doesn't. And it's the same with instruments as well, sound instruments.
So sound healing is quite diverse, isn't it? There's lots of different tools when you go from voice to instruments to using light language. So what sort of sound instruments do you like to use in your work?
Oh my gosh! At the moment, I've got too many. I've got too many here. I at the moment love the drum, the shamanic drum, but I have gone through phases. I have a reverie harp and also a monotone harp, which are also gorgeous.
Oh,
I've got crystal bowls.
I see a really big one behind you.
The Tibetan bowls, yes, there's one here. I've got the harps
Mhm.
out and there's some chimes and things behind me. But yeah, at the moment, the favorite is my drum. It's almost like the simplicity and the repetitiveness, and that's more, I guess, that invokes that shamanic journeying side of things. But you're right, there's such a wide spectrum, and I've dabbled in different things, but really, I guess I've been guided with my voice more. As part of that repertoire, I'm still using my voice in the things I do, and have had feedback from people saying, "Oh, when you use your voice, something happens in their being."
Yes, I've heard your voice. It's absolutely beautiful. For someone who can't sing at all, I just love it when I hear someone who can sing. It's wonderful. So, does sound healing work for different parts of the body? I mean, obviously, the throat chakra is a really big energy center and it's part of what you're doing, but is there any targeted instruments or do they work for the whole aura chakras, the whole body?
I personally feel it is for the entire body, and it can be specific. And the key thing I learned from one of the people I learned from was Jonathan Goldman, and he has done years of research around sound and healing and harmonics. Is that he's like, why are there so many different systems and methods? They all work. Why is it that this chakra toning system in this tradition, they're using it this way, and in another tradition they're using it this way? And he realized that the fundamental thing was the intention part. So not only the sound or the frequency. So he has this formula called frequency plus healing is the frequency plus intention is the healing. So I say that the frequency is that the tool we use. It could be our voice, the instrument, and the intention part is not only intention of the practitioner, it's the consciousness of that practitioner. So we say the giver of sound, but also the recipient of the sound, so the intention. So this is kind of dynamic going on with all these elements. So when we are want to have the intention of focusing on a specific area, then that's
Right.
that's the focus of the session and the intention of the session. But if the recipient maybe have no intention of of being well or whatever, so there's as much will and intention as the practitioner has, there's also the person receiving.
Of course, because their body's doing the healing. Yeah.
It's kind of it can be specific and it can be generic. Like the same instrument, for example, like a tuning fork can be used for the throat area, for example, or they could use for the knee. And it's like there's no reason. And then that's where it comes into the consciousness of the participants involved, because there'll be an awareness and a tuning in, excuse the pun, a tuning in of the dynamics at play and what's relevant in the moment is what I find. Yeah. Sometimes I've done themes. In the beginning, I've always made my intention to be that I'm a contribution to the group. And then it becomes a soundscape. So the different instruments and my voice play to that group in the moment. And sometimes I notice that the group need a little more gentleness. So it's almost the group energies and are guiding me to go, I don't want harsh shamanic drumming. I want crystal. I mean, even before I've got out the door, I'm asking which instruments are wanting to come out.
Okay.
And then the crafting is is live. There's no set playlist, as it were, or set order that I play the instruments. I set the instruments out and then tune into the group after, you know, they're all kind of nested in, settled in. And then there's a playing or collaboration, if you like, with the group energy. And normally most people kind of respond to that, go, oh yeah, I really needed that softer, gentle thing.
So it's like reading the energy in the room.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost reading the average of the room. And but it's interesting when I do have the drum, for example, I get to walk around the group sometimes if there's space, and then sometimes the instruments, for example, the drum, or even got a crystal pyramid, when I walk around, they respond differently. So maybe the drum beat changes for a very specific person or group of people, or a different chant or melody might want to come through for a particular area in the room. I sometimes find myself drumming. I'm laughing because, like, if anyone opened their eyes, go, why is she standing facing the wall? Because sometimes I'm facing a particular direction. Or even I've done a few at Cabley Coast, and I found myself turning towards Cabley Coast, and sometimes I'm honoring the land and the beings around in the surrounding area as well as beautiful. The group.
All the birds that are out on that sanctuary, that island. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Space. Absolutely. Funny. And then the birds join in. I've been lucky enough to experience those moments where I'm also making bird chirping sounds. And then there was one time where the fire escape was open because it was quite warm, a hot day, and the bird decided to land on the railings outside and tune in with me. So we were having a riff.
How amazing. I hadn't realized how intuitive sound healing is. That's incredible. And you're a very intuitive healer, because I know, you know, from doing family constellation work with you. So that's fantastic that you can tap into all of that. I've found myself that sound healing has been when I've had some of my biggest awakenings, and I haven't experienced a lot of it, but when I do, whoa, the energy is just off the chart. So I absolutely love hearing what you're doing with this.
If it's a group situation, are we talking about? It's like anything really, as in terms of what it's like going to a gig, like a music band. You're gonna enjoy some environments and instruments and the practitioner, and there's some you're not gonna gel with them. Like, some people can't stand crystal bowls, for example. Okay. It's too high pitch for them, or and it's nothing wrong with. And it comes back to that combination and the synergy of the recipient and the practitioner. So in terms of preparation, it's just try it out and don't discount any others. Maybe it wasn't that one, maybe it was another one. Sometimes it's the venue, and then you're like, oh, it was acoustics. Acoustics of that. I mean, there was this lady, a lady around New Zealand who has these amazing gongs. But I heard that there was one venue, unfortunately, the building alarm went off. So unfortunately, halfway through. So it was just really unfortunate, because it was an amazing experience. But, you know, just those little things can put people off. So in terms of comfort, it's just try it out. If not that one, try a different one. Try different instruments. Some people sing, some people don't sing and just have crystal balls. So there's quite a wide spectrum. That is like going to choose to see a band. It really depends on your preference, your comfort level, and then there's things like, are you warm enough? Because you tend to cool down as well. Most of them are lying down. Some people like sitting up, like in a meditative way. So there's nothing worse than if you're lying down. For example, there's a place the floor was freezing, and there's nothing worse than not feeling physically comfortable, let alone having the sound experience. So those are just some things to consider: is the venue, your own level of physical comfort, and then it's the types of sounds and the instruments.
Good point. Especially parts of New Zealand can be cold, and some of the buildings we use for healing events can be really cold as well, with wooden floors and things. So yeah, take your socks take some blankets with
You
you.
want to be warm.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely, especially
comfortable.
when you're lying down.
Yeah.
So you have a number of modalities that you work in, and does sound work nicely with those too? Do you integrate it?
I have done, they've been one of those happy accidents. I seem to come across synergies with the work I do, especially with the voice, the sound and the family constellation stuff, and the proximity of where one is standing and the sounding. So that's been a really, really powerful combo or realization, because it was already happening already. I've had all most ages, sorry, not all ages. I've had all ages. I have most age groups that I've played to. And it really depends on, not everyone likes my style as well, but I haven't come across anyone, who hasn't enjoyed a sound journey of some sorts if it's not with me. So it's very accessible. That's the thing. This thing is very accessible way of, especially for those people that find it difficult to meditate. But there's some interest going on, but there's multiple things happening. So you're not just listening to the sound, you're kind of being bathed in the sound as well. So there's a lot happening in that sense. And for those that don't like to lie down for so long, or have hip problems or physical problems, then they can just sit in a chair. So I guess that's the only thing for people who find it difficult to be still for a while. Then I've done shorter sessions.
Right.
For people.
So have you noticed specific things like stress, anxiety, physical pain, anything like that sound healing is particularly good for?
I say yes, and it's not always repeatable, if that makes any sense. Then it comes back to the intention and the frequency combo of the practitioner, recipient, and the instrument, and the moment. For example, in a group's sound bath, it's less specific to the individual. Having said that, I have had a few examples of people. For example, there's one lady who had a crook neck from playing the violin. And then during the session, she felt this intensity and almost like a self-correction.
Wow.
during the session, because it just, her body did that. Her body decided to do that. And she got up thinking, oh, wow, that's gone. So it wasn't my intention to specifically target her neck. That's just what happened. And there was another example where a lady had sciatica, and she didn't tell me this, actually, didn't know. And she finds it difficult to get up off the floor, and not realizing that she had an option to sit somewhere else. And I was telling this story to the group in total. Like, I went back, and the lady was there, and basically she said that she told her friend that she was able to get up with ease. And I was telling the story to the group, and she said, oh, that was me. And I said, how are you still? And everyone's like, and this is like, months later. She says, yeah, that's still gone. It's gone. Like the sciatica.
Best kind of feedback.
Gone. Yeah. So those are a couple of examples in terms of in a sound bath environment. But the like I said, the way I started was the voice, and I'm encouraging people to use their voice as the healing instrument. I used to hold regular vocal toning sessions in Hawke's Bay. There was a lady who came, and she just wanted to be amongst like-minded people. And I didn't realize she had quite severe MS, and meaning that she had like braces around her legs, because she was that fragile.
Wow.
And she sat in for a few weeks, and she toned sometimes, and when she could. And then she said she tried practicing at home as well. And then I think it was only like the 4th or 5th week in. So I used to hold them on Friday night. She came around on the Saturday morning and was like, bang, 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 bang on the door. I was like, okay. And I opened the door, and her face looked so radiant. and
Wow.
flushed. And she was like, "Oh my God, Yee Ley, like, I don't know what happened, but I felt like I was thrown around the room last night." I was like, "Oh gosh." I said, "But no, but it was great because it felt like something had left her body, and she just felt energized just by sitting in other people toning with their voices. And we were just toning vowel sounds together
It
for
sounds like
20 minutes.
entrainment, doesn't it? Like when your frequency, you start adapting to those around you and you're picking up.
Exactly.
Mm,
So that's, I mean, that is one of the key components of what's happening with the sound, is that resonance and entrainment is part of what's happening behind the scenes. So we're kind of inviting our cells and our body to come back to coherence, and that's through entrainment. So when we're exposed to something that's coherent, very clear, like crystal bowls, tuning forks, or someone's voice of clarity, that can help remind us to come back to our own coherence.
right.
Yes.
It all makes sense. And it's like when different things are releasing for different people, it's the body's letting go what it needs to and it's ready to let go of, or what it's ready to heal. And like in most healing sessions, if you set the intention that you're just doing the best you can, to help people to heal and release what they need to, often it's something they're not even aware of that clears. So yeah, no, that makes so much sense, and just fabulous to hear.
Probably the most accessible thing, there's a whole book on it. The most accessible thing people can do is use their voice, and that's humming. And humming for 5 minutes can already create a lot of different things in the body, benefits for the body, kind of in terms of deep relaxation, reducing levels of stress, and just creating more calm in the body. And humming for 5 minutes every day, or even in a car, is really accessible. And it's very, like, it can't be that simple. But it is. So really the humming is literally, and you don't have to be a singer,
Which is good news for me, yeah.
And I have to note, I know you mentioned about me being a singer. I wasn't a trained singer, and that's the thing. I was bad at singing. And then the whole sounding thing really helped me get over that I'm a performer. It's not about that. It's about being allowed to express.
Right.
And it's like, just allow yourself to express, to make sounds. I'm known as a sound lady, where, I make sounds in terms of what they call it interjections, like ow, ooh, ah. To sound it out. And it's literally an energy movement. So humming is the most accessible thing we can all do. And that hum is like the M of the Om. That creates that vibration, and you can feel it in the different parts of the cavity.
And 5 minutes non-stop?
Breathing.
In between.
With breathing in between.
That's a good idea.
Or even just sporadically, because the idea is that you're just creating vibrations in that mouth cavity. It also quietens the mind.
Gives you something else to focus on. So it's kind of a meditation.
Yeah. And if you can do longer, I have as my goal for New Zealand to be able to tone for at least 1 hour continuous in Wanganui. Like part of the training I did in with Jonathan Golden, we had 12 hours a whole day of toning, but we were put in groups. So you're doing an hour slot for your group, but it was contiguous. I think there was 3 groups, and we were invited to just sit in and be bathed in that toning for 12 hours. It was amazing.
Did you notice anything significant? Did anyone have any real breakthroughs from that? Do you know?
From that, oh my gosh, it was like a 10-day intensive. So lots of people had lots of breakthroughs. It was quite a while ago now.
Yeah, that's incredible. 10 days.
I think they were memorable. And there was one lady who had lost her hearing from, I think she was part of the military thing, and that like the bombing has impaired her hearing, and then throughout the toning she just went pop and it
came back on.
came back.
That's incredible.
But yeah,
Wow.
lots of people had lots of releases, and it was amazing because it was all experiential. It was all about coming to your voice and you and the toning and being bathed in that. And yes, we had some tuning forks, but really they were saying hello. The voice is the powerful tool. And we don't have to be power singers. We don't have to be powerhouses.
So even singing in the shower is good. Or humming in the
Exactly.
shower.
Singing, humming. I used to, as part of my meditation when I was starting out, I would, instead of having an hour of meditation, well, not instead, as well as I would do about an hour of random sounding. And it was like, it was almost just releasing all the energies that I held back. I didn't allow myself to say. And sometimes they aren't, well, actually, it's pretty better if they aren't words because it's just gobbledygook. I call it like you've got a drain pipe that you've just held back and all the stuff that you didn't know what to do with. And so it's just, you've got to have a moment to allow yourself to have the incoherence, the voicing of things as sounds, rather than trying to grab onto it and look at it and make meaning of it. Sometimes you just need to just clear that drain pipe out. And that's how I did a lot of my healing was through the voicing.
Awesome. So what does toning sound like? What's the difference between humming and toning?
Humming is more closed mouth. With toning, really it's the same, but you're using then the vowel sounds, and it's a prolonged, sustained note, so there are no flourishes. It's kind of monotoning, as some people call it. So you're not doing Mariah Carey's-esque little flourishes. It's more and then it's very meditative. And when you find your pitch in terms of, is it higher or low, then you kind of, on that out breath, you're just staying with that tone. And then you'll find that you'll have different sweet spots, or some days will sound a little bit wobbly because sometimes we're clearing different parts of our body. I notice some vowel sounds I sound weaker, like ah. I'm sometimes like, oh, I feel like I'm out of breath with the sound ah, but with E, I'm like much stronger with my E. And it really depends on how I'm feeling on the day. And that's it. We can change our pitch, and then it comes back to intention, focus, pitch, who's in the room, what's happening.
So if you've got a weaker toning sound, is that the one you should be working on? Is that a clue that you need to strengthen that one?
My point of view is that do what feels comfortable for you. I always feel it's more about your own personal experience. I guess there's other teachers who are quite rigid with like, do these chakra sounds X amount of times. If it's weak, then your chakra is weak. Okay, maybe. Sometimes I go, if it's uncomfortable, stop. If it's stronger with an E, for example, maybe tone E in for that moment, and just make a note. Go, feels really weak today, or around my belly. That's interesting. and then you either continue. And for me, it's all about choice and being like conscious choice. Go, okay, do I want to continue? Maybe I will, because sometimes you're like, yeah, no, I'm going to push through this and see how I do.
It's interesting. So you said that some days things are different, rather than we tend to think of certain areas of our body being consistently weak, or if it's moving, things are shifting and moving. That's really interesting too.
Yeah, that's my personal point of view around that, that we are different every day. The environment's a very different day. We're aware of a lot of things quite all the time. And that, even from across the road, across the world, like if there's for the super sensitives, if there's a hurricane going on in another country, for example, and you kind of feel off, but it's like, oh, hang on, I'm aware of something. Where we automatically think, no, there's something wrong with me. I need to I need to tone harder. Like, hang on, maybe it's something else.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that too, because some people, because we have a lot of earthquakes here, some people are really affected by those, quite a bit. So yeah, sound healing would probably help them too, to try and release some of that tension,
Absolutely.
maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. The earth, we can help express the earth, or the earth energies can come through us. That's very helpful. And I guess the other way round, from the cosmos to the earth, and we're like that conduit. And
like that antenna picking up everything.
yeah, for those that are interested, I mean, there's a book by Barbara Massignac, and they talk about the sound, that conduit, that we hold all the wisdom in the bones. And so when we sound, or we use frequencies in that way, we're kind of unlocking the wisdom
from our bones.
from our bones.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, the bones. A drum, you particularly love your drum, and that's a shamanic drum. Is that something that you bought internationally, or something that was made locally?
The drum itself is from Europe, from Germany, from and the name escapes me at the moment, but he's a well-known drum maker. It's quite a different one because it's a tunable drum, which has a bicycle inflatable, so you can change the pitch.
Okay, yeah.
So you pump up the tire and it changes the pitch.
That's incredible.
But I actually bought it from a sound healer who was in Wellington, and she was packing up and leaving to go back to Germany.
So I guess a lot of your instruments have got their own stories like that. Like you said, you've got some harps, and you'd be collecting lots of different.
Yeah, they've been on the way. I mean, it wasn't my intention to do that, to have lots of instruments. It just happened, like, oh, shiny toy. But yeah, I'm lucky that I have a collection.
That's neat.
Some of them local, some of them from overseas, some of them gifted.
And so you've got some tuning forks there, Yee Ley. Can you give us a bit of a understanding of how they work?
So there's different, yeah, sure. I have different types here. One I got from a set I got from the training I did with Jonathan Goldburn, and that is, these are used to tune pianos, and I guess in a doctor setting, it used to be testing if a bone was broken, right? To hear back in the day. Luckily, I didn't have to experience that. But the idea is that because they're very specific frequency, these ones are known as C and G, which is a perfect fifth, which in musical terms is a very soothing and pleasing harmony or interval. There we go. Don't know if you can hear that. The C and G. So there's one way is that we were taught is to put it on either side of the ear. And so, as Jonathan calls this is called psychoacoustics. Here the sound enters our ears and goes through our brain, affecting our nervous system, heart rate and respiration in the brain waves. So that's the audible side of things. And then the other way...
They keep ringing for quite some time after.
They do. The other way that I use the tuning forks is through the energy field. And this is called vibroacoustics. And so this occurs when the sound vibrates our physical body, affecting us down to our cellular structure and even our DNA. So if I'm working in someone's energy field, I could often standing far out in their energy field and come in. So you're kind of combing their energy field, and there's a lot of work done by Eileen McCusick from Biofield Tuning. And she's done a lot of research around how it's almost like tree rings, and there's memory holdings or electromagnetic energy of imprints of maybe, the further out the tuning fork or the area one's standing, the younger the experience, the memory that's holding, like a holding. And so there's like a sound distortion, or the tuning fork dampens, or it changes in some way. So it's almost like you're hitting a different electromagnetic structure, and it kind of like, oh, there's something there. And that coherence informs the body, and it gives this, here's the feedback. It's like, oh, something's off. So hence the energy centers is all about being able to move things smoothly. So when we have an emotion, we can process the emotion with more ease by having that coherence. And the body's going, self-corrects. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm getting feedback. There's something off or dissonant.
Yeah. So it's like a block in the aura. You're picking up on those and clearing those blocks in the aura.
Yeah, so you're helping it move through that energy system, and it's like, oh, okay. So that's really fascinating. Like her work is really fascinating because it really helped me affirm what I was picking up in some of the vocal exercises I was doing in my classes and constellations.
So, do you have a message or a piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about the power of the sound of sound healing?
I was going to say, have fun. Do you have any advice? Have fun.
Enjoy it.
Sound healing. Oh, okay, hang on.
Well, the fact that it's sound and music, and it is a fun kind of modality, isn't it? It really is. You can.
It really is. It's like music, right? It can be really moving.
Very powerful.
It can be uplifting. Different sounds can invoke different emotions. And it is, as like, be open to explore. There's no one tool. There's no magic. There's no one magic frequency. Is what I'll say. Have fun exploring, and there's no one magical frequency.
That's awesome.
So there's a beautiful sounding heart which can be retuned. To different tunings, and I recently played this at someone's funeral service, which is a real honour.
I can feel that in my back. It's interesting the different things you're doing. I'm feeling them in different parts of my body. Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, people love the drum as well. Crystal quartz pyramid. So if I spin the ribbon around, okay, just do it again. So
I could feel that right through my head and my sinuses and my nose and everywhere.
Wow.
Like, that's wonderful. But it reminds me of church bells. I don't know why, because it's not a bell, but that kind of ethereal sound. Mm. What a collection. That's fabulous.
And the interesting thing that you felt that, and that I've done remote sound sessions for people. And I know it works, but I still get surprised going, oh, really? You can feel that? Even though you're not in the same room.
Yep, I definitely felt that. Felt the drum in my back in different parts. And when was it your toning or your humming? I could feel in my heart. Yeah, straight away. So how can people connect with you, Yee Ley, to learn more about what you're doing, and what would you call them, recordings that you sell to people?
True. Yes, I have some guided meditations, sound meditations on Insight Timer. Everything, all the social media and things like that are under my name. It's Yee Ley Lao. Insight Timer in terms of the meditation tracks, or you can find me on the website, and Facebook and Instagram. Those are.
And YouTube? You're on YouTube too?
I go to YouTube. Yes, I don't do a lot of stuff on there, but yeah, there are. Okay. I am on YouTube as well.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And hopefully, I have had some albums recorded, but that I've just had to unrelease them to be re-released through Naxos Cloud, which is a company that will be distributing my recordings in terms of the crystal bowls and harp and all those beautiful things.
Awesome.
And hopefully have some new recordings coming soon.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. It's been real fun, and I've learnt lots about it, and it's really cool. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Linda.